Greetings and welcome to the channel. My name is Dr. Nana Gyesie, coach at Inner Mileage Coaching, where we help people overcome themselves by optimizing their lives, overcoming trauma, and limiting self-beliefs. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the smear campaign used by the narcissist. The smear campaign used by the narcissist. So what exactly is a smear campaign? See, the smear campaign is a calculated, often very malicious approach to damage the target of the campaign's credibility, their relationships, whether it's through gossip, rumors, a very coordinated effort to isolate people, half-truths. And the general idea behind the smear campaign is to isolate the target, create doubt, and maintain power. So you may be asking yourself, well, why would someone engage in a smear campaign? Well, it's a tactic often used by individuals with narcissistic tendencies. Narcissists thrive on control and admiration. When they feel like you're threatening them a little bit, they begin to resort to smear campaigns as a way to protect their egos and discredit whoever might expose them. So how do narcissists use smear campaigns? Very simply, there's a few things they do. Firstly, if they have access to it, they'll target your close friends, your colleagues, if they have access to it, and anyone where you have a valued reputation. They'll start planting seeds of doubt, often mixing truth with lies to make their story seem more believable. This is what the narcissist does. They might say things like, I'm really concerned about such and such, or I hate to say this, but such and such did this. And they begin to escalate what they do, right? They say it in such a way to make themselves appear like they have your best interests at heart. But as the lies begin to take root, they spread them even further, often going to people who don't know you well enough to question the narrative. So the more isolated you become, the more they can control the perception others have of you. This is really despicable how the narcissist does this. And it's important to understand this so you're not emotional when these tactics are happening. So you might ask yourself, how does somebody fall victim to a smear campaign? Well, it's very simple. I've been a victim of smear campaigns in some of the previous narcissistic relationships that I had. And I have had several. I attracted them because I didn't know I was an empath. Often, what they would do is create stories, right? They are very charming and convincing, these narcissists. So their lies sound plausible because it's mixed with some half-truths. So people begin to question or doubt or believe what they might be telling you without even realizing that they're being manipulated. And the effects of how you might fall victim to a narcissist campaign would be to feel isolated, hurt, disparaged. Friends and colleagues might start distancing themselves from you without explanation. You might hear rumors about how people are treating you differently. This can even lead to depression. But it's important to realize that this is the exact goal being used by narcissists. This is exactly what the narcissist wants. So the more isolated you feel, the more vulnerable you feel, the more power they have. So how do you outsmart a narcissist? Because you can't go toe-to-toe with them with how despicable or how low they would go. In fact, if you try to, you lose. Well, first, it's important to keep track of all the interactions. So there's documented proof. So if it's a boss, if it's a spouse, if it's someone else, you want to have documented evidence so you're not subject to gaslighting or lies. Secondly, it's important that you begin to realize that the narcissist is committed to misunderstanding you. Therefore, anytime you engage with them and you want to explain or give credence to a point of view, they're winning. They thrive on conflict and attention, so confronting them is a no-no. In fact, you'll be playing right into the hands of the narcissist, and instead, rather than getting a honest conversation, you get more conflict. So it's important to remain focused on yourself, your integrity, and the relationships with those who continue to see the good in you. And if others don't see the good in you anymore, they are not people who should be in your life anyway. It's also important to communicate very clearly and calmly with those who may have been influenced by a smear campaign if needed. You can approach them privately, but I actually don't think that's a great idea. Silence is your best weapon here. Ultimately, when you're going through this, it's important not to remain alone. That's why you need to work with a coach like us at Inner Mileage, or a coach or therapist who's skilled in dealing with narcissism, narcissistic abuse, and overcoming narcissistic abuse. So you may be asking yourself, how do I deal with a smear campaign? Because it's incredibly challenging. And what exactly is a smear campaign? Well, the smear campaign, as I said earlier, includes half-truths about you, half-lies, or exaggerations, right? So that's going to happen. And you should know that the purpose is to destroy your reputation and your image and your person in the eyes of people who esteem you or value you. So you realize that this is a very devious approach by the narcissist to protect their self-image because they're afraid of what you might reveal. Now, another really powerful tactic used by narcissists during the smear campaign is they lie about and actually accuse you of things that they've actually done. So if the narcissist cheated on you, they will accuse you of cheating. If the narcissist stole from you or messed up your finances, they will accuse you of doing that. The narcissist had numerous affairs, they'll accuse you of having done that. If the narcissist doesn't have any objective or being reciprocal in the relationship, they will accuse you of that or manipulate you to that perspective. And so you realize that the narcissist is actually very easy to read, because anything they accuse the smear campaign object of is exactly what they've done. So if you've been a victim of narcissistic abuse, it's important to realize that you've done nothing wrong. That because you're an empath or a person of light, you've been attacked and targeted by this dark entity. And remember, the smear campaign only begins to happen when the narcissist realizes that you've caught on to them. You see, the approach of narcissistic abuse is so intelligent and happens through a myriad of strategies and tactics used by the narcissist. It's often very difficult to detect when it's happening until it's too late. And many people end up in marriages and family dynamics and job situations where they're narcissistically abused and don't even know it's happening because they think it's just bad manners or a difficult personality. They not actually realize that is a systematic approach used by this person who's targeted the empath or the target to destroy them, in some cases swap destinies, and ensure that this light doesn't shine, so the dark energy holds precedence. So the narcissist is so broken by reality that they believe no good is possible from another person. So if they meet an empath who happens to exude good energy, good-heartedness, and wants to be a good person, it is something that a narcissist envies and wants for themselves. And they know they can't have it, and they can't believe that another person embodies this because guess what? They lived in a world of compromised people. And so what they want to do is convert you from being a person of light to a person of darkness. Whether it's making you more negative, depressed, afraid, even narcissistic because you think that's the way to deal with the reality around you. When you understand these things, you begin to realize that the narcissist has no real power unless you give them power. And the way you give them power is to try to reason with them logically like you would another person. You see, there's a reason why all leading psychological journals tell you there's no real cure for narcissistic personality disorder. This is how you know that it's not merely a mental or emotional affliction, but it's also a spiritual affliction. Because a narcissist seeks to kill and destroy. There's no medication that treats that in a holistic way. There's no therapy that can treat that if the narcissist is not ready to go to therapy. There's no amount of coaching that would shape the narcissist into becoming a nicer person unless they, on their own, because they've dealt with a Sigma empath who has led them through a narcissistic collapse and narcissistic rage, and then they decide they want to be a better person and seek therapy. In that case, there could be hope. But generally speaking, for most of the cases, and most of you who are going through narcissistic abuse, there is no cure for narcissism. And the narcissist targets you because you're a people pleaser, you're an empath, and so they manipulate you based on your own old traumas, your unhealed traumas. The reason why you are resonant to the narcissist is not only because you are an empath, but you're also an empath that has significant trauma. And that trauma is what makes you attractive to the love bombing of the narcissist. And therefore, when they get you in their clutches, they want to let you go until they're ready to discard you. And if you start to pick up on what's going on, then the smear campaign begins and they start to destroy you to keep you in their claws until they have no further use for you. If you want to learn how to overcome a smear campaign or narcissistic abuse, type transform in the comment section or send us a message at nana@innermileage.com. And remember, if you're watching this and you found this helpful, tell someone about it, spread the word so we can combat this epidemic of rising proportions of narcissistic abuse that's happening to empathic people around the world. Until next time, peace.